This is the presentation for Stephen Aldinger and Lincoln Fraley. We did end-of-day accounting and drawer close. It ended up being a little tricky because a lot of it isn't digital, but we also weren't part of the final system that got sent out. We're kind of an outcast, apparently. I'll just be going over how to use our drawer close functionality as we designed it. Generally speaking, when you would close a shop, you'd have to have a beginning count, so what the drawer was to begin with. Then you'd need to count what the actual drawer contents are now, which is typically done bill by bill, and then all the different types of coins that you've got in the drawer are all counted individually as well. After an employee counts the contents in the drawer, they typically would fill out some sort of form or some sort of report, give it to the manager, and the manager would also count, double check that they counted correctly. And if there's no issues, they might both sign the report and then file it away for good. So exceptions that might come up are miscounting the drawer contents, or not signing the report at the end, or not giving the manager a report to begin with. And all of these are exceptions that would be caught by the manager, though, and not the actual system. It's kind of tough for a system to actually check any of that, but we can provide some way for them to communicate at least. So this was the original balsamic mock-up. Lincoln did this part of the project, and it's got the date that everything's being reported for. The beginning cache would be the cache contents before the shift started. And there's the type of report there, and then the amount of bills, amount of cents, and the difference between them, so you can tell what's going on exactly. That leads us to the uglier part of the project, which is the code itself. We needed an extended controller for this, just so we could actually keep track of the difference while it was being inputted and kind of display updates as they went along, kind of for the sake of a prettier UI and whatnot. We used different sections just so it would be spread out well, and then a bunch of on-change listeners here, just so anytime they input anything, we update the drawer counts and the difference between what it should be at the beginning and what it was at the end. That brings us to the extension itself, which is essentially just a bunch of different variables keeping track of how many dollars of each type there are and how many pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters there are. Then it's really just got a bunch of ways to refer to it in the actual code, and then a bunch of get and set methods, which is boring to look at. But that leads us to the tests. We have a test method for every get and set, just to make sure everything's working properly, which is pretty redundant throughout the whole thing, but it's important. All of these ended up passing just fine. There wasn't a whole lot to it. Alright, so this brings us to the fun part of the project, which is the actual UI in action here. So I'll just give a quick demo. But basically at the top we've got it saying hello to whatever user it is. You can pick your closing type there. We went with shift. You can type in the beginning cache contents here, which is what we would have counted to begin with before we started our shift. Then everything underneath there that I'm filling out as we speak is just the contents, like as if I were counting it at the end of my shift. So these are the new contents of the drawer that I'm pulling out. You can see the difference updating there as we go along, as well as the different values for each individual thing. So put enough in here. The difference is positive now, so we made money on the shift. That's good. Managers will be happy to hear that. When we're done here, we can hit close drawer report, and it'll save everything, and we're good to go. The managers can review it later on, then do what they want with it, and move on from there.